Okay, so now let's take a look at self-construction costs. Okay, you purchase a land, building materials, laborers, overhead, development permits, architecture design. Those are pretty straightforward, right? That should be included. Site decontamination cost, right? So if, for example, I'm building a gas station, right? I'm building a gas station now. I have to consider in the future, right? When I dispose this gas station, I'm liable for some kind of environmental requirement here. I have to pay, right, to clean up the site in the future, right? And the future cash outflows has a present value, right? You have to consider that as part of your cost, okay? Okay, so borrowing cost on self-construction asset, right? So when UFL is building the science center, they need to borrow some money, right, to build the big project, right? And then there are interest, right? The interest cost on the loan, according to IAS 23, that could be capitalized. Construction-related borrowing cost, okay? That can be capitalized. Okay, so basically, if the borrowing cost is directly attributable to the acquisition, construction, or production of a qualifying asset, okay? So then you can capitalize this borrowing cost, okay? So you can also compare the standard IFRS versus ASB, okay? If the cost of debt directly attributed to construction, IFRS wants you to capitalize. For ASB, you have the option, okay? You have the option, either capitalize or expense. If the cost is your own money, okay? If the internal funds, not external funds from the bank, for IFRS, then that interest has to be expensed, right? That has to be expensed if it's internal fund. For ASB, again, you can either capitalize or expense, okay? You see the difference between IFRS and ASB. C, period of capitalization, okay? Capitalization is when you do debit, right? You debit the capital, right? Will finish when the item is ready for intended use, okay? So if this is the time, this asset is ready for use, okay? That's the time you stop capitalizing cost, okay? That's the time you stop capitalizing cost. Whether the asset is in use, that's not important. If you're saying, well, guess what? I didn't use it, right? I didn't use it until 6 months later. That's not important. The question you should ask is this asset ready for use? Well, it's your decision not to use it now, okay? But if the asset is ready for use, you should stop capitalization, okay? Even though you do not desire to use the asset until later, but that's your choice, that's your decision, right? The question you should ask is this asset ready? If the answer is yes, then stop capitalization. Here is the question. If the warehouse construction starts on April 1st, finishes on September 31st, and the warehouse operations begin on November 15th, okay? So start April 1st, finished September 30th, okay? And they start to use it on November 15th. So the question is, the company should capitalize construction cost including any borrowing cost from April 1st to
September 30th.
September 30th.
Okay, very good. September 31st. Okay. Even though you didn't use it in October and half of December, November, but that's your choice, right? It's ready at the end of September. Very good. So that's the key point, right? Because the longer, the period of capitalization is important when you calculate the borrowing cost, right? So the borrowing cost interest before September 30th can be capitalized. After, you cannot capitalize, okay? That's the key difference, right? That's important. To know when is the cutoff point. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about replacement versus repair, okay?
I have a question.
Okay, good. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so let's say you're building a refinery, for example, right? And you capitalize those costs, but then you decide to only use part of the refinery. So some of the equipment's not being used. So could you still
Is that ready to use? Is that ready to be used?
I guess would it be ready to be used? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if it's ready to be used, then stop capitalizing.
But what if you stop construction before it's ready to be used because you know you're not going to use it? So then.
Oh, so well, then that's another problem, right? So if you stop construction, and then you have, and if you decide you will never use it, then you have to recognize the loss. You have to get rid of the whole thing, right?
Okay.
Because basically it's useless, right? So you remember when you are constructing the eyesight, right? You have a construction in progress, right? So then if the minute you realize that I will never use it, that's a different issue, right? That's a totally different issue. Then you have to close all this account, recognizing loss.
Okay.
Because you know there's loss, you have to recognize loss right away, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Makes sense.
Yeah.